Thank y'all so much for tuning back in with me. It's good to be back. Haven't been live here in a while, and I'm really excited to be back with y'all. It's always good to see people rolling in before the show gets started. All those years playing music, I used to sit on a bar stool and I would be looking out the door to see if people were coming in. And it was always better to start the show with people already on the dance floor, and so it's good when we start the show with people already here. I got to be honest with you. I seen 61 people were waiting. There was a time when I would do these lives years ago, and no one would be waiting, and I was lucky to get 15 people. So I'm very, very grateful to all of you for being here with me, and hope everyone's doing good. I've had a busy couple of weeks. Last week I attended the special sessions that took place here in Tennessee. Governor Bill Lee called that together, and he managed to get his voucher scam passed through, and a very controversial immigration bill. I want to say this. It was, I've not actually got out on the ground like that and went to things like that. That was my first time ever attending a special session at the state capitol. And all I can say is that it's one thing to sit back and to watch clips of things, and it's one thing to sit back and watch it on television. It's another thing to sit back and read all the articles, and it's another thing to sit and talk to all the people that have been there. But until you actually go and you get on the ground and you see it for yourself and you sit there in that chair and you watch how things unfold, it was a learning experience. And so I'm more motivated than ever now to get back out there and do more, and go to more events like that, and sit there and take it in and learn about it and educate myself on it. Because again, it's one thing to react to stuff, but it's another when you're right there in the moment, seeing it happen in real time. And yes, Cameron Sexton is every bit as slimy and disgusting in real life as he is on TV. Oh God. Can we just have like a celebrity death match with him and Mike Johnson? I would pay money to see that. I would pay money to see them two just get in an octagon, although they probably wouldn't do much damage to one another. They're both such spineless little creeps. But man, to see him in person and just the schmug arrogance, it was something to see. And so I was there for that. I also went to a rally for Antioch that happened on the Capitol steps. We had another senseless shooting here in Tennessee, and I went there to stand in protest of gun violence, and that was pretty tough one to stand through, because you're listening to kids in real time explain what it's like to be in those moments and explain what it's like to survive it, and you're hearing them beg and plead with lawmakers to do something about it. And then these lawmakers have the audacity to just walk right through the protest, with these smug looks on their faces. Yeah, here we are, we're the people that's making your life hell. And it was just something to see. It was something to see the kids, sharing their stories, and then to see the grieving parents, and to know that the people were inside. And I mean, we're in a blood red Tennessee, and I've always known we were blood red, but damn, when I came back from that, it was rough. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me because of the immigration bill and what it means. And we're all still trying to wrap our minds around it and understand it. But what we're basically seeing is democracy die, if I'm just being brutally honest with you. Because now if a lawmaker was to vote for a sanctuary city, or in any way vote for aid like that, they could receive a felony if they voted against Trump's immigration. Now, we're talking about voting. That's the thing. I mean, when you start saying that someone could get a felony for voting, that's such I hate the phrase slippery slope. I hate when people use it, but it truly is, because they never stop to think about what it could be like if the roles got reversed. I promise you, if a state had have said that it would be illegal to vote against something that Joe Biden was wanting to push through, every right-wing talking head in this country, every influencer, every mainstream media network would be exploding. And also, there would be Democrats standing up saying that's unconstitutional. That's not the way you do things. So we are definitely in some dark times. And I've said to people for a long time, and I'm not trying to be hyperbolic or bring down the room, I'm just trying to be real. I can't sit here and and tell you with all the confidence in the world that everything's okay right now, because we're in a dark period of time. But I do believe that we can get through it, and I believe we can by continuing to double down on our messaging, continuing to get it out there to people, and continuing to get out on the ground and hit the ground running, and go to these events, let your voices be heard, call your lawmakers, reach out to them, write letters, do everything you can. We have to be the resistance right now more than ever. We said that the first go around with Trump. I remember the first time with Trump, we were like, we are the resistance. We said that then. And I even formed a punk band during that era called the Bitter Resistors, and we wrote protest songs. But it definitely feels this time more so, because this time now it's a completely different Trump term. It's not the same thing. The last time he still was surrounded by some people who were in government and knew how it worked. And when those people were behind him, they said it was complete chaos, that the dude did not know what he was doing. And everybody that spoke out against him, he managed to immediately say they were terrible people. Well, he told us first he hired the best and the brightest. I'll only hire the best. And then when he got in there and the best wouldn't tell him everything he wanted to hear, then he was turning on them, and suddenly they were rhinos, and suddenly they weren't loyal. So this go around, I have to give him credit for one thing. He learned his lesson, and he realized, hey, I have to surround myself by loyalists. I have to surround myself by people who will do my bidding. And it's not about whether or not they're qualified, and it's not about their past or their morals or their values. The Republican Party has completely thrown all that out the window. That doesn't exist anymore. There is no accountability. There's no morals. There's no values whatsoever. It's all about being loyal to Trump. So say we have a confirmation hearing for Pete Hegseth or for Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Kash Patel. It does not matter what you say about their past. You can bring that up all day long. And it does not matter what kind of skeletons they have in their closet. No matter how many NDAs they have laying on their desk, and no matter how much dirt or how many cubs they picked up and then planted in Central Park. You can bring that stuff up all day long, and it is never going to resonate with MAGA. It's never going to resonate with Trump, because the sole intention is to destroy and dismantle everything in the government. That's what they've been preaching for years, and now that's what they're attempting to do. And to bring up that, well, they're not qualified to do this job. Where's RFK Jr.'s medical degree? Where are these people's experience in this position? Do they even know what this position entails? None of that's going to matter. None of that's going to resonate with MAGA, because, again, it's all about dismantling the government. And they've been sitting here preaching this stuff for years. I don't post anymore over on X, but I do follow along to see what's going on. I get on there and I sort through that dumpster fire, because I want to see how it is they're reacting. They're celebrating all these things that are happening. They're jumping for joy. And they don't care about people's past. They don't care about their qualifications. It's all about, oh, look at these Democrats now shaking in their boots as we dismantle and tear down everything. So we have to continue to be the resistance. We have to be the ones to speak up and stand together, and really realize that we don't, we have to stick together, because we don't have a president speaking for us anymore. And I think more Democrats have to get out and get on the ground and get louder with it. I don't think that we should look to the Democratic Party to save us. I don't. I'm not one of these people that thinks, oh, let's just wait till they come up with a front man and that front man can save us. I don't think that's what this is about at all. I think this is about us coming together, building up our communities and building them so strong that the establishment can never resist it. That they have to realize that we want change in this country, and we want to see our principles and our policies be the thing that leads America. And I think hopefully the Democrats will eventually get together. There's some, I'm going to play some clips here in a minute of some that are out there screaming, and kudos to them for doing so. But we have to have more of that. We have to have more of that energy. I'm not going to sit here and say to you that we need to get a celebrity, or we need to get The Rock, or we need to get Oprah. I'm not going to say any of those things, because that's not what's going to save us. We have to be the resistance. We have to be the ones that stands up to this tyranny and shouts it down. Because, there's a lot of comparisons going on right now with 1930s Germany, which is pretty terrifying in itself when someone even makes a reference to that. And I've always said that I used to say when I would read those history books and I would study that era, I would say, man, was there anyone resisting? Was there anyone that was speaking out? I'm sure there were. And I'm sure there were people that saw it coming a mile away, but they didn't have a cell phone. They didn't have a MacBook. They didn't have platforms that they could let their voices be heard on. They didn't really have a way to build a community. We do. And so that's the message I would like to get out to people. The internet is like the best of times and the worst of times. It's everything that's wrong with the world, and it's everything that can be right with it. It's one of the worst things that we've ever had, but if it's used correctly, it can be used as a good tool. I've always had mixed emotions when it comes to the internet. When it comes to the music world, back when I was playing music and which I still am as far as writing and recording songs, but back when I was pursuing that full time before I got swept up into this world, I used to say I would hear music online all the time, and I would say, well, the best thing about the internet is that anyone can just upload their music to the world and let it get heard. And the worst thing about the internet is just anyone can upload it and let it get heard, because that's just how it goes. It's like there's a lot to sift through, and no matter what you're going about, no matter what you're looking for, you have to sift through a lot of garbage to get to the real meat of the matter. And I think that's what we have to do. I think that we have to continue to dig in and resist and stand strong and build our communities and build our platforms and let our voices be heard. There's protests going on all over this country. I don't think you're going to be seeing a whole lot of that in the mainstream media. I don't see them covering that, so I think people like us needs to. I think we need to push that out and let it be known that people are out there protesting and they're tired of it already. And the sad part is, I knew they would be. I knew going in that everyone that said it out would definitely regret setting it out. I knew that Democrats that got upset over one issue would regret going the other way or trying to write in a third party. And yeah, there's still going to be some Trump supporters who are going, wait a minute, that's not what I voted for. And that's definitely something that I want to talk about during this episode. Recently, I was on Luke Beasley's show. I got to meet Luke and be on his show and talk with him, and it was really cool because I really love that kid. I mean, he's that. I mean, people like Luke Beasley and Adam Mockler, guys like that, they give me hope for the future. They really do. He's a super smart kid, and I really loved conversing with him. But the reason that I reached out to Luke is because he did a piece on Bell County, Kentucky, that I grew up. Actually, CNN did a piece, and then Luke was reacting to their piece. And in the piece, they were they went to the school that I went to when I was a kid, the middle school that I went to as a kid, and they asked the principal and the teacher and they interviewed the superintendent of the school system that I went to. And that school system strongly depends on the Department of Education. That's what they're there for. And they depend on it solely. They asked one of the teachers, they said, they said, how much stuff in this room comes from the Department of Education or depends on it? And she said, everything in this room. And so the interviewer gets around to saying, well, who'd you vote for? Well, I voted for Donald Trump. Well, you do realize Donald Trump wants to defund the Department of Education. He wants to get rid of it. And they're like, well, I don't think he would do that. That's not what I voted for. And they all said that when they were asked. So when I saw Luke do the piece on it, I reached out to him and I was like, hey, because he was asking the question, why do these people say stuff like that? Luke's from Austin, Texas, and he was like, why do people in a poor, southeastern Kentucky town, why do they say things like that? And I was like, hey, I kind of got some insight on that because I grew up there and I'm surrounded by them, and I'm still in that neck of the woods. So I'm on the Tennessee side. I was born over here and have been back over here on the Tennessee side. I'm right on the line, so I get the trifecta of red states. Every now and then Virginia, once in a blue moon, no pun intended, gets it right. But anyway, so these people said that. They said, well, we didn't, that ain't what we voted for. And like my song Cheaper Eggs said, we're going to remind them, yeah, that's exactly what you voted for. He said, I'm going to do it. Why would you not listen to him? And why would you vote for someone that said he was going to defund your livelihood? It makes no sense. There is no other world in which this would be a reality. If you really stop and think about it, imagine you went in someone comes in for an interview, okay? They sit down in front of the boss, the owner of the company, whatever. They sit down in front of him and he says to them, what can you bring to the company? And the guy says, well, first of all, I'm going to have immunity to be able to do my job. Whatever handbook you're going to give me, I'm not going to abide by it at all. whatever checks and balances you have at this company, I'm not going to abide by it at all. And if there's a 30-minute lunch break, I'm going to take an hour at least. And if there's a 15-minute break, I'm going to take 30. And I may have to leave early one day. And, if I want to just walk outside and take a shit on the sidewalk, I'll do it. If they said that, the person would look across the table at them and say, you're absolutely insane. You're not getting hired. We're not going to have you here. There's no way they would hire that person, and then when the person did it, sit back and go, well, I never thought they would actually do that. That's how ridiculous this is to me. I know that sometimes I break it down on just the simplest of levels, but sometimes it needs to be to get through to people. If you ask that superintendent, if you ask that principal, if you ask that teacher, hey, can the students just do anything they want? Can the students have immunity? Do they just have to? Can they not turn in assignments because they just don't think that's fair that they have to turn it in? And if a student stood up and said they were going to do something, or if someone tried to get on with the school system and said, if I get into the school system, I will do ... Would that superintendent hire them? Would he bring them on board and then turn around and go, oh well, no, that's not what I hired you for. Well, you heard him say it. See, the thing is, I really believe that people like us listened to Trump way more than they did, because we were sitting there listening to every word, hanging on every word, and seeing all the giant red flags that was coming our way. And we were trying to point it out to all the people. It's like, man, they're just always picking on Trump. No, we're just showing you what he said. We're just showing you exactly what they said they were going to do. And then to turn around after it's over and say, well, I don't see, that's not what I voted for. Yeah, that's exactly what you voted for. And again, why would you? It just, the whole thing makes zero sense. You can't make it make sense. But when I was talking with Luke about the whole thing, and he said, why is it that people in that part of the world will say that? And I may offend some people here today, but I'm just going to tell you how I truly feel about it. I really feel like that the church in my part of the world, I don't know how it is wherever you're from, but I can tell you where I'm at, the church plays a massive role in demonizing and vilifying Democrats. We're baby killers. We're the scum of the earth in this part of the world. And they teach kids that from the pulpit. They teach kids that in the Sunday school classroom. They put stuff like that out on their boards out front, on their signs for people to read. They drill it in people's head. And I can't count the times in my part of the world that someone has said, well, my granddaddy'd roll over in his grave if he knew I was voting for a Democrat. I have read parts of Project 2025 to people in my part of the world and said, isn't this really messed up? And they said, yeah, Brando, that's really screwed up. I don't agree with that. Well, Trump's for that. Oh, well, I don't think he'd really do it, though. Yeah, they have every intention of doing it. These are the people he's surrounded himself with. I even showed them clips of the people from Project 2025 behind the scenes. Looks like something you'd see out of Goodfellas or The Godfather or some shit. And they're sitting there going, yeah, we know he's got to badmouth us. We know he's got to distance himself from us, but we just got to get him through the door, and then he'll do what we say. And that's what's happening. We tried to warn them. We tried to tell them, but they're brought up and it's drilled in their heads in the churches. It's drilled in their heads there. And then to go against Donald Trump in their world, it's bigger than that, because it's going against their God. Then it's going against their minister. It's going against their grandma and grandpa. And here's the thing about mama and papa in this part of the world: they may be good people. They may be really good mamas and papas that's always there for their kids, that's always there to help them and always there in their times of need. And they may be good, honest people, but they have fell for this propaganda. They have fell for this bullshit, and they've bought this narrative that Democrats are the devil and that the devil's coming after Trump. And I could sit there, I'm agnostic, but I could get inside the Bible and argue with them, and I could get outside of the Bible and argue with them, and would turn blue in the face trying to get through, because it's crazy to me that, okay, I'll give you an example of what I'm saying. The minister that baptized me, I'm not going to say his name, I don't even want to give him no credit for that. But the minister that baptized me during the Clinton years, he preached about how evil Bill Clinton was and how immoral Bill Clinton was and what a terrible womanizing piece of crap that Bill Clinton was, and that we needed a moral man in office. We needed someone with morals and values. We needed someone who would set a good example for our children. And this guy would stand there and cry, real blubber and tears. He would sit there and break down and just cry about how Bill Clinton was living his life privately, sexually, whatever. and would say, I can't believe this man is doing these things and just setting such a bad example for our children. Okay. Well, if that's how you feel, if that's your opinion on it, okay, cool, whatever. If that's how you feel about Bill Clinton, feel free to feel that way. None of us can really argue that Bill Clinton probably, I'm not saying Bill Clinton should be on the Wheaties box, okay? I'm not. But this guy made that his whole identity the entire Clinton years. Then George W. Bush comes along and he celebrates, like, oh, now we've got a good moral man. Well, we end up in a war. And I can't imagine Jesus being for that. It's kind of like the John Prine song who's hanging behind me there. Jesus don't like killing no matter what the reason's for, and your flag decal won't get you into heaven anymore. That's one of my favorite tunes that old John Prine wrote. But, he got all behind that. Well, the thing with George W. Bush is, yes, he was a terrible president. Yes, he was a bumbling idiot. But I don't think that George Bush necessarily had a mean heart. I don't think he necessarily had a cruel heart about the guy. You know what I mean? And I can believe that George W. Bush was raised in church, and I do believe that if you asked George W. Bush to name a favorite Bible verse, he probably could. I'm pretty sure that he could, have an opinion on it and tell you what it means. Trump can't do any of that. So when Trump come along, and I wasn't going to that church anymore, but I immediately wanted to know, hey, wonder what he's going to say about this. Well, I got a cousin who from time to time will send me clips, and he'll say, dude, listen to what this guy's saying now. And what the guy's saying now is, well, sometimes God calls immoral people. Trump's not perfect, but he pushes our agenda. And, God called King David, and he was immoral. God called the Apostle Paul, and he was killing Christians. So, we just got to have faith in God that this is the one that was sent to save us. And so that's why those people will sit there and go, well, I didn't think he was really going to do that. It's because it's been drilled in their head for years. This has been something, this didn't start overnight. This has been something that's been drilled into people's heads for years. And back when I was a kid, I was lucky enough to have a progressive mom and dad and an uncle and a grandmother that could point to me and show me where the holes in the story was. I was just lucky in that department that I didn't get swept up in that. And I'll be honest with you, I've got cousins and family members that did get swept up in it. And I sometimes wonder what would have happened if I hadn't have had the upbringing that I did. But I was fortunate enough to have an uncle who set me straight with the evidence and with the facts. And when I saw the evidence and the facts in front of me, then it was undeniable to me, and I realized how we were being played. And I've told this story in videos and I've probably told it live before, but there's always new people coming on the channel, so I'll repeat it. Back when I was younger, I've always talked politics my whole life. We've always talked it in my family. And something we've always done. It's been like the Super Bowl to us. We talk politics every day and have since I was a kid. So, we've always talked about it. And both my grandfathers were Republicans, and they were both lifelong Christians. Well, my uncle wasn't. My uncle was a Democrat, and he was very vocal about it. And so, I'm still trying to get awake. So my uncle was very vocal about being a Democrat, and I sometimes wondered, I hadn't got around to asking him just yet, but as a kid, I wondered why that he voted Democrat and his dad voted Republican. So there was a guy here in Tennessee. He's still around. His name's Lamar Alexander. And back in the day, he did these commercials where he would go across Tennessee wearing like a pair of jeans and a red flannel shirt and some work boots, and he would go out to these factories and talk to people, and he would tell people how that he was, the man for the people, basically. I'm for you. And he was preaching morals and values and patriotism back then. And so I saw that and I thought, well, my grandfathers were Republicans, and this guy seems to be all about morals and values, and he's got on a pair of jeans like me, and I've got a red flannel. He's got a red flannel. And he's got the same work boots my dad's got on. So this must be a pretty good dude. And so I go to my uncle and I'm like, hey, I've seen this guy, Lamar Alexander. What do you think of him? He's like, I wouldn't vote for him. I was like, well, I said, I know he's a Republican. I said, but, I said, he is saying a lot of good things. I said, he's talking about how we need to help our veterans and how we need to help our seniors and how we need to help the children and all this. He's like, have you ever looked at his voting record? And I was like, well, no. He's like, have you ever looked to see what he voted for and against? And I said, no. He said, let me show you. And so he just brings out the facts. Here's what he said about veterans, but here's what he did when he went behind closed doors and voted against those veterans. And here's what he said about the elderly, but here's how he went in there and voted against the elderly. And here's what he said about children, but here's how he went in and voted against children. And here's how he talked about the workers, but here's how he went in and voted against them every step of the way. And then he said something to me as a teenager that I just never forgot. He said, he said, that's nothing but stage props to these people. He said they use the flag, they use the Bible, they use patriotism and Christianity. He said they use those things as stage props to get votes because they know people in the South will buy it. And he started telling me, go study Richard Nixon and the Southern strategy. Go study Ronald Reagan and the moral majority. This thing's been building for a long time. Trump is just the cherry on top at the moment. And the puppet master that I'm going to get to eventually, they're the cherries on top of this whole thing. But this thing has been going on for a long time. It's been going on before most of us was ever born, and it's just now really hitting home. And so a lot of people are going, what the hell is this? But to people who've been paying attention the entire time, I've talked with people who are like, no, this stuff was going on back when, Eisenhower was president, and Nixon was VP, and he was out here pushing this stuff. And if you really want to hear something that I think it was one of the most eye-opening podcasts I ever listened to was Bagman with Rachel Maddow. She breaks down Spiro Agnew, who was Nixon's VP. And I'm telling you, if you didn't know no better, you'd think she's talking about Trump. It is crazy what they've been trying to do and get away with for years. And so going back to the people, voting against their interests, to people like Brando, why does people in Tennessee and Southeast Kentucky and these poor towns, why do they do it? I really believe it starts right there in the churches. I believe they're the ones that really drives it in people's head. And then it's hard for them to break from it. It's hard for them to break from it because to break from it is not only break from that, but it's to break from their beliefs. It's to break from their God. It's to break from their grandparents that raised them. And a lot of them just don't have the courage. I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but I do have family members that message us to say, I'm with you, Brando. I just don't want to piss off the family, and I want to be able to come to Christmas. And, like, okay, well, I'll die on this hill for you. That's no problem. You set this one out if you have to, but I really wish you'd get in on the conversation because you stop and think about all the people who are in on the conversation for all the wrong reasons. And I don't know. I mean, I understand that not everybody can speak up and out. I get it. And I'm not saying that everyone necessarily even should, because I understand that everyone has their own battles and they have to pick their own battles. And I understand that everyone has their own livelihoods and you have to protect your own livelihoods. I get it. But I couldn't be the one that sat there and quietly listen to something. And they all know that now, and so I'm not invited anymore, so I don't have to worry about it. I just have the holidays with my mom, my dad, my kids, and that's it. There's no extended family. There's no cousins from Michigan or nothing. It's like they and what's funny, like some of them are like, I just want to talk to Brando and just set him straight. And my mom and my aunt and people's like, well, if you talk to him, you're going to be disappointed. He's not going to back down. He's not going to, if you confront him about it, brace yourself. He's not going to give you a break. So, to anyone out there, I want to meet, okay, well, we'll sit down and have a Big Mac and I'll take you to school. But hey, anyway, I really appreciate y'all for being here. I'm going to be here for a little bit longer. I definitely want to talk about the title of this video. I'm still waking up though, by the way. I've had a long couple of weeks. To be honest with you, it's Tuesday, February 4th. But ever since January 20th, it's just been information overload. There is so much stuff coming that I have made videos, had them ready to release to y'all, and then the story changed before the video hit. And I'm like, crap, now I got to start over. There's just so much information going that it's been hard to get any rest. It's been hard to stay focused. It's been hard to do it all, but we got to take care of ourselves. So I always tell everybody, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, be good to people, and take care of your mental health. And, I have to have my coffee every morning. I'm a JFG guy. That's a Knoxville, Tennessee brand. So it's just one of those things I was brought up on, and I don't know no different. I'll go to like other parts of the world and have some really good coffee, and then I just always come back to the good old JFG. You people in East Tennessee and South, this part of the world knows what I'm referring to. I make mine a little stronger than most people. They, Texas Polly always starts off with, I hope your coffee's as good as mine. I hope it's better. I'm like, dude, I would love to taste your coffee because mine is strong. And like, I have to be mindful of that. I've got one of those split coffee pots now that will make one cup and then make a pot. So if there's more people here, I'll make a pot lighter for everybody else, and then I'll make mine like, But that's always been me. Before we keep moving, though, I want to real quickly just shout out to the new members and the people that have gifted memberships. Shout out to the Indiana girl. Shout out to Grace and Coach Share. And shout out to Plug One, Plug Two. Thank you so much, and to Tina for becoming new members. Now, on the memberships here, one of the perks you get will be getting my videos early. I put out a video last night, members only, talking about how that Trump says now Americans are going to have to feel a little pain, and that video's out there now. But if you're a member, you would have got it first. So that's one of the perks of being a member. But like I said earlier, there's so much stuff flying at us now that I'm not always on top of that, and sometimes the videos have to come out right then. But I try my best to make sure the members get them earlier. Also, want to say a shout out and thanks to Greg Johns for the tip. Thank you so much. Thank you to Tammy for gifting a Tennessee Brando membership. Thanks again to Rachel from a Trans Gal. Thanks for all you do, Mr. Brando. Thank you, and thank you for being here every time. I really appreciate your support. Also, another regular, the Spicy Jester. Associated Press is reporting Trump will sign an order to end the Department of Education, and college will be only for the super rich. Now, they've said it all along. Like I said earlier, that's something they've said. So to the teachers and superintendents, they're like, well, that's not what I voted for. Yeah, it kind of is. And here we are. But I tell you, we really did, not to get too far off track here, but we really did see in Tennessee, in Kentucky, we saw Andy Beshear basically get elected because the governor right before that, Bevin, pissed off the teachers so bad that they voted for Andy. So I don't know. Maybe if Trump pisses off enough teachers, maybe that would be some help. I just hate that we have to go through it and people have to endure it while it's going on. Also, shout out to Jeanette, always here, and gifted a Tennessee Brando membership. Also, thanks to Jay for this, says with Tennessee, can't vote against sanctuary cities law. I felt real fear for the first time. I don't even live in a red state. I definitely felt it too. And sitting there in the moment, hearing it said out loud and just seeing the smug look on their faces as they said it, it's like, dang, it was one of those things like we can't vote. And I go back to conversations I had with people leading up to the election that was like, well, I don't care if he's a dictator for a day. I don't really believe in democracy. I actually had one guy say, I don't think I should have to live under the democracy. I don't think just because the majority of people want something that I should have to. I'm like, well, you completely missed a meeting. But also I want to shout out to Grifters for gifting. This is always hard for me to say. Shout out to Grifters for gifting 5 Tennessee Brando memberships. Does it every time, and I truly appreciate your support. I really do. And I appreciate the challenge of the tongue twister. Eventually I'll get it right. Also, shout out to LJ Jones for that. I really appreciate it. And then Crystal says, God sent us Trump because of our actions. We voted for Biden. He thought we learned, but now we treated him and sent back in Trump even worse. I don't know. I mean, the funny part is when we were in Nashville, me and my buddy Brian, I'm an agnostic, Brian's atheist, and there's not much difference in the two really if you really debate it too long. But anyway, we were sitting there and Brian looked over at me and he's like, I'm an atheist, but I'm kind of starting to believe there might be some truth to the book of Revelation. And then it was like we were being punished, so yeah, I could definitely feel that sentiment. Also, let's see, where was I at? Thanks to Tamara Reed for the super sticker. Thanks to JD Christie for that as well. Thanks to Everett for becoming a new member. Thank you to Grace for that. I appreciate you too. And Grateful Dad, thank you for that so much. It would be far more difficult to manage my mental health lately without you, TB. Thank you for all your hard work. I appreciate that. It means a lot to hear you say that, and it keeps me motivated. I've talked on the channel before about my addiction and my past problems that I've had. I've been holding it together. I ain't fell off the wagon. I've had a couple of drinks, but I've always been alcohol was never really my main problem. It was other things, uppers and downers that I had a problem with for a while. I've always, there's been times where I've binge drinked, but here lately I've been able to keep it all under control and keep everything in moderation. but I've managed to kick the harder stuff. And so to everyone out there that's ever struggled with that, I know it's hard during these times, to not fall back on that. But we got to keep a clear head, and that's what I just keep telling myself. It's like, all right, I'm going to sit out on the back porch late at night, and I'll have me a little glass of scotch and smoke a cigar and sit there and try to wind down a little bit and crank up some drive-by truckers in my headphones. But I'm not going to go crazy and do anything else. It's funny, over on Patreon, I put out a video over there unboxing a new guitar I bought. I actually one night sat down and had a little too much to drink, and I woke up the next morning and I had bought a new guitar off Reverb for like $300. It was a Hagstrom Swede. It's a really good guitar. But I told my family and friends, I said, hey, that's progress, because 2008 Brando would have bought a whole lot worse for things under that. So yeah, that was progress for me. But everybody take care of your mental health, and you all helped me being here with me and just keeping me motivated. So I appreciate it. Also, thanks to Leslie, Keep It Real, keep up the good work member for 12 months. I appreciate that. Thanks to Kim so much for being a member. And shout out to, let's see, we got a bunch rolling in. Sylvia Williams, Christopher, and JFID. And then thanks to Marie for this super sticker. And I'll try to go back and catch up to those in a minute. But I really appreciate y'all so much for coming along on this ride. Now, the one thing that I wanted to talk about before we go, title of this video, but I took the long way around to get to it. I didn't vote for Elon Musk. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I did not vote for that. And what's pretty funny is that one of the main talking points that Republicans had for years was the oligarchs and the billionaires controlling everything. And we got accused of, taking money from George Soros. And I have heard George Soros' name. And honestly, I don't know that I'd even recognize that dude if I passed him on the street. He's not a type of person that even sticks out to me. I've maybe seen a picture of him a couple of times. And to the people, it's like, hey, you're getting paid by George Soros. I'm like, oh, somebody sent it to the wrong address. Somebody Cameron Sexton said, what's funny, here in Tennessee, our House Speaker Cameron Sexton said that the people that came to the special sessions, we got paid to be there. No, I missed it. I've been checking. I'll keep checking the mailbox there, Cameron, but it ain't happened yet. But I didn't vote for Elon Musk. And one of the main talking points that Republicans had for years was we couldn't let the oligarchs take control. We couldn't let them have access to our information. We couldn't let them have access to our treasury. And now the same people, Elon Musk himself included, that preached against this, is now sitting back celebrating it happening. They're even going so far as to calling it the next American Revolution. It's happening. We're seeing the dismantling of our government. We're seeing it all. And it's so crazy to me. It's so crazy to me that the very people that warned us the hardest against this are now going for it hook, line, and sinker, and under the guise that Elon's exposing all the corruption and not realizing that this is completely illegal, completely against the grain. It goes against everything we were ever supposed to be, and they're so distracted with their hatred for us and their fear of everything that they don't want to be around that none of them are seeing clearly on this one. Luckily, we do have some Democrats who are starting to speak up, and we need more of that. We need more people speaking up and speaking out. So I'm going to play you a clip here, and we'll react to this in real time. This is Jamie Raskin speaking here. Let's bring this up. Get the volume going for you. Well, I'm new at this. Give me a second. Okay. Well, why am I not getting volume on this thing? Okay. Well, let's see if this will play. Okay, well, for whatever reason, I'm not getting the volume here. 1 second. Well, that was a fumble. But let's see. Yep, I don't know why my audio's gone, but sorry about that. But the good thing is, Jamie Raskin, Gerald Conley, a couple of them were coming out and speaking out against this. And let me see something. That's a good question. Someone said, was the headphones connected? Maybe so. There's no option to bring up the volume. But I see the volume button, but it won't let me click on it. And you can see it there on the screen. It won't let me hit it. Interesting. Okay, well, try to get that right the next time. But they were speaking out against this and saying we're not going to stand for it, and that's a good thing because there's so many people that are worried about this. This is not normal, and the fact that they're celebrating this like that this is some sort of victory for them. They don't realize just how dangerous it is. Let me see if I can bring this up. At least I can read something here. This was an article that I found to be pretty interesting. See if I can get it to come up for you. Yeah, here we go. So this is from CBS. Elon Musk access to treasury payment is raising alarms. Here's what to know. So with Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, gaining control of the Treasury Department payment system, consumer advocates and Democratic lawmakers are raising alarms about the group's access to the federal government's financial, I don't know that word, as well as the sensitive data such as Social Security numbers of most taxpayers. DOGE, a Trump administration task force assigned to find ways to reduce federal spending, now has access to a Treasury unit called the Bureau of Fiscal Service, which disburses trillions in payments each year, including Social Security checks and federal salaries, according to the Associated Press. Now, what are the concerns? While the White House later rescinded the memo and a judge halted the freeze, DOGE's control of the Treasury's payment system raises questions about the Trump administration's ability to halt the flow of federal funds for programs, including Medicare and Social Security. It's also causing concerns about DOGE's access to personal and financial information of most taxpayers. There's no community of Americans that this system does not touch. This is Donald K. Sherman talking. And so I think the concern is that access to this system, including personally identifiable information, has been ceded to the president's billionaire friend for reasons that are passing understanding. And that's David K. Sherman, who is the executive director and chief counsel of the watchdog group Citizens for Responsibility and Ethics in Washington, D.C. So there are quite risks that DOGE could potentially undermine that system and threaten millions of Americans from getting the payments that are due. Musk's access to the Treasury payment system has sparked concern from Democratic lawmakers, including Elizabeth Warren, Ron Wyden, that's a hard name to say right real quick, while a lawsuit was filed on Monday alleging unlawful, ongoing, systematic, and continuous disclosure of personal and financial information to Musk and DOGE. The lawsuit, filed by two unions and the Alliance for Retired Americans, names U.S. Treasury Scott Bessent and the Treasury as defendants. Controlling the system could allow the Trump administration to unilaterally and illegally cut off payments for millions of Americans, putting at risk the financial security of families and businesses based on political favoritism or the whims of Mr. Musk and those of his team who have worked their way inside. And that is Elizabeth Warren that said that. It's very concerning, folks, and a lot of people, like I said, are trying to spin this. They're trying to spin this that this is the second American Revolution and that they're, dismantling and Elon's finding the corruption. We didn't vote for this dude. And he was not elected to this spot. This department got created out of thin air. And all I can say is that if this had have happened, can you imagine had Joe Biden gave George Soros the Lincoln bed, and then after giving him that, gave him his own imaginary department and just gave him access to all of this? We didn't vote for this. And there's a lot of people out there that says, well, don't you agree that, the government, is wasteful in their spending? Yeah. We all want an effective government. We all want there to be government efficiency. But I do not believe that giving the keys to Elon Musk is the idea and the answer behind this. This is a guy who we saw what he did. We saw the salute that he did. And he can sit here all day long and gaslight us and make fun of us and troll us and on Twitter. But I showed the video clip where before he would do "My Heart Goes Out to You," and he would do it this way. We saw him do that. That was how he always said it. "My heart goes out to you." He would do that gesture. We saw that. That's clearly not what he did at the inauguration. Then he's going out here talking to these alt-right groups. He's sitting down with Putin. He's sitting down with Netanyahu, laughing and joking about basically being the president. When he's sitting there with Netanyahu, It's, Netanyahu at one point says, well, you can't run for president. He says, well, no, not officially. And then he's like, oh, so not officially. And they both have a good laugh about it. They're literally sitting there laughing at Donald Trump. And so I didn't vote for this. You didn't vote for this. And this is not something that should be, in my mind, Democratic or Republican. It's not something that we should take lightly at all. It's something that we should take very seriously. And so I don't know going forward, folks, what in the world we do. Really, I don't know. It's one of those things that it's going to be a hard one to come back from. I don't know at this point how we go about putting the toothpaste back in the tube, if we can. But there are people starting to protest this from all over, and so I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see at least there are people out there who is speaking up and speaking out, and hopefully we'll get more of it. There's supposed to be protests, I think, tomorrow all over, and so I've heard of one going to be happening in Sacramento. And so, there's going to be a lot going on. And if there's any more here in Tennessee and anyone catches wind of them, let me know, because I would definitely love to attend and to be there. And so, let me see real quickly here. That's so weird. I'm still getting no volume when I share these, and I played them before the show started. But kudos to Jamie Raskin for speaking up. And I don't understand why that they saved with no volume. It's weird. But we just have to keep standing up. We have to keep speaking out and doing our part. This isn't what we voted for. And I don't trust the dude. I just do not trust him as far as I could throw him. And so, and I saw a funny, I don't know if it was true, but I saw a funny meme. I saw a funny meme that his dad said he was disappointed in him and he should lose some weight. I don't know if that's true, but anyway, Elon is one of those people that I don't trust, and he's everything. He played this part. One of the things Elon Musk did, and a lot of these guys do, you'll hear him and RFK Jr. and even Trump will say, well, we used to be Democrats, but the Democrats were so corrupt. I don't believe that's why they switched teams. I don't believe that's why they moved in a different direction. I believe they were always the way they were. I believe they were always grifters, number one. I believe wholeheartedly that they were grifters. And I believe that they realized that it's harder to get progressives and liberals all in a row to agree on something. I think they looked over and saw how easily people can be led and manipulated. I think people like people like Musk saw Trump manipulating MAGA and went, dang, like you can manipulate people like that. You can get people going like that. So yeah, I'm winning on that. I think the guy was always a grifter, always a con man. And he realized that, you know what, if I can't really do the things I'm wanting to do because people on the left they're more apt, they're for democracy, number one. And they're also, I think one of the biggest strengths we have and one of the biggest weaknesses we have sometimes is the fact that we don't all get together on things. So that's hurt us at times. There's times where it's like, come on, let's get it together. But then, it's also a strength that we're not that narrow-minded that we all just automatically go together. So it's one of those things we have to find the common ground, the middle ground, and realize now we got to stand together more than ever. But I just believe that people like Elon looked over and saw Trump doing what he did, saw that he could grift. And then look at what Elon did the minute that MAGA began to step out of line with him on the visas. He smacked them down, and Trump never said a word about it. And he'll continue to do that. He will continue to slap around MAGA anytime he wants to, and Trump will never be there to save him. And I think I'll pretty much close with this on the whole idea. I think Trump's inauguration, which, by the way, I did not watch. We sat here on the channel and we listened to music and we talked music and we talked about other things and we did our part to boycott it. The Midas Touch Network did a live where they showed their puppies and their cats, And I think we had 2,600 people in here at one point, or close to 3,000. So if I pull that many viewers away, I did my part. But right there at the inauguration, you just got to look at the symbolic nature of this. At the inauguration was all the oligarchs. They all had a front row seat. They were all right up there around him. They're who put him there. And then all of his supporters was out in the cold. I thought that was a really good view of what the next 4 years will look like. them in charge, them in control, and all the people that thinks it works for them left out in the cold. Anybody out there that thinks Elon Musk cares about them or Donald Trump cares about them, especially in my part of the world where I'm at. I mean, my uncle used to have a bumper sticker on his car that said a Republican voting for a Republican, let's see, a poor man voting for a Republican is like a chicken voting for Colonel Sanders. And I used to laugh when I seen that bumper sticker, and it's never been more true. It's like, dang, like it truly is, and it's so painful to watch, and it's painful to watch them do it and then say, yeah, but that ain't what I voted for. I'll never be able to figure that one out. But before I go, I just want to let y'all know where I'm going to be and what I'm doing. I'm going to be back here, and we're going to try something a little different this Thursday because I've had so many people, different time zones and different situations that can't always tune in here at noon. So I want to go at 7 p.m. this Thursday. So we'll do a p.m. show. It'll be Eastern time. We'll go at 7 p.m. Eastern. And that way we'll be able to reach our audience that doesn't get to watch. I have a lot of people come back. I'll see comments on the replay that says, Brando would love to have been part of this live. So 7 p.m. Eastern time this Thursday, I'll be back. Yes, I am over on Blue Sky. I'm really enjoying that app. And I'm also on Substack. I've been writing over there. I've been writing pieces in the evening. That's been a good way for me to wind down. And I've really enjoyed being on Substack. So you can find me over there at Tennessee Brando. Same thing with Blue Sky. Also, we do have a new shirt in the store, and I want to bring that up. Surely this will come up on the screen for you. There it is. So we have the We Are the Resistance shirt because we are at this point, folks. That's who we are. That's what we have to be. This is available at Fourth Wall. If you click on my story, you'll go to Fourth Wall, find it. Also, this was an oldie but goodie. We have the classic I Refuse to Be Gaslit is now available on Fourth Wall. It's still available on Teespring too, but you can get the I Refuse to Be Gaslit, which has been one of our best-selling items since we started this thing. But we are the Resistance, and those are some pretty cool shirts. And shout out to Sarah for coming up with the Resistance design. Really appreciate that. And those will be in the store. And we got some new stuff coming your way. I'm still learning the ropes of all this, folks. I'm still new at this. I've actually got a friend that's going to come help me from time to time to play producer. So if he was watching this, he's probably like, yep, that's why you needed me there. We'll get it right eventually. This is all new water to me. I've learned. Well, I was talking to a buddy of mine last night. It's funny. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and he's a guitar tech that works on my guitars, and he was like, he said, you seem like you're pretty computer, because I was telling him, kind of how YouTube works and how all the apps work, and kind of giving him, behind the scenes look at how the stuff works. And he was like, you seem to have a lot of knowledge about it. I was like, dude, that's just a small drop in the bucket. I'm not as fast on my feet as some of the younger kids are. I'm not as quick at pulling stuff up and going with it. I've always said that I'm a guy that's reacting to the reactions. I heard, I think it was Harold Ramis. I don't know how many of you ever saw the old movie Stripes with Bill Murray. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. The Lighten Up, Francis. I say that to my kids all the time. It's just one of the funniest movies of all time. But Harold Ramis played, I can't remember the name of his character, but he played, the friend of Bill Murray. Bill Murray was John Winger. And so, anyway, Harold Ramis is pretty much watching Bill Murray and reacting to him. He's got some lines in the movie, and he's got some funny lines, but Harold Ramis's job is to kind of sit there and be like, and he's reacting to it. And I saw an interview with him where he said, the only thing funnier than watching a man go crazy is watching the man watch the man go crazy. And that's always kind of how I viewed my content. I'm sitting here in blood red Tennessee, bordered by blood red Kentucky. And Virginia, so I'm in the trifecta of the Bible Belt. I've joked I'm in the buckle of the Bible Belt, and I am the man that is watching the men go crazy. That's what I am. So I'm not necessarily your stats and numbers guy. That's not me. I'm the guy that's sitting over here going, "Holy crap! Did you see that? Did you see what this guy thinks this is the next American Revolution? Are you crazy? What's wrong with you?" So I'm kind of like Harold Ramis's character in Stripes. I'm just I'm just sitting there watching a man go nuts, and I'm trying to figure it out. And I'm trying to talk people through it and just trying to be a voice of reason and say, hey, did you ever stop to think about it a different way? Hey, this is everything you warned us against. That's one of the most frustrating parts about politics is there's no consistency from anything. It's like you have people. Okay, I'm gonna give you an example. We'll do a very generic analogy here. Okay, let's see. Trying to think of something I don't like. Okay, I don't like McDonald's. All right, I'm not a McDonald's fan. I'll eat it if I have to. If I'm in a town and there's only a McDonald's, okay, cool. But I'm not a fan of McDonald's. Now, if I say that to you and tell you I'm not a fan of it, but then everywhere we go, I pass up 10 restaurants to get to McDonald's, wouldn't you kind of say I was hypocritical? Wouldn't you kind of say, hey, thought you didn't like it? You know, it's I know it's kind of a generic analogy, but that's how I feel about it. These people will stand here and they will die on a hill for a belief. They'll sit there and they'll go down swinging for a belief. We got to stand against the oligarchs. I mean, how many times we hear people like Alex Jones, we can't let these billionaires control us. And now he's over there like, this is great. This is the second American Revolution. There's just no consistency at all. And it's hard to argue with that and gain any ground. Because you're dealing with people who are always going to move the goalpost. They're always going to go in a different direction. And so you could sit there and you can get into a shouting match with these people. And, you know, when you're sitting there watching these panels and everybody's shouting at one another, there's never anything good that comes out of those conversations. Because it's just somebody trying to own somebody else and trying to one-up somebody and beat somebody and then turn it into a clip that they can share and flex and say they own their friends. And it's nothing. And so I don't engage in crap like that. And I don't think it does anything. And the people that are sitting there screaming about something today will turn and scream the exact opposite the next day. And so that's one of the reasons why that it's so hard having these conversations. We sit and listen to Elon Musk himself sit there on Joe Rogan and talk about the unelected officials who would try to gain access to everything. And now he's doing it and laughing about it on Twitter. So I didn't vote for it. You didn't vote for it. And people really needs to start waking up. And I'm glad that people are. There's protests happening all across the country. All I would say is just be safe out there because we're living in a different world now. So be safe. Take care of yourself. I always tell people to take care of your mental health first and foremost. Take care of yourself. And I know this is something odd for a YouTuber to say to you, but if you have to unplug for a couple of days, do it. I have friends of mine all the time that'll say, Brando, I'm sorry I haven't watched some of your videos lately. I need to catch up on them. They don't put yourself through that. I mean, really. Like, if you took 2 or 3 days off, you could pick up where you left off. There's all kinds of crazy crap happening. So you could pick up where you left off, and I'm not going to be offended at all. There's a lot of people that'll just sit and accuse of me of doing this for clicks and likes, and that's not the case. I'm very grateful that we've got this following. I'm grateful we have these platforms, and I'm grateful to all of you for contributing to what I do and contributing your hard-earned money to me. And I always say to the people that contributes in any way, I'm like, hey, you know, I know times are tough. If next month you can't afford something, you're not going to offend me. If you can't afford it 1 month, that's not what I'm about at all. I'm about us taking care of each other. Taking care of our mental health, and if you have to tune out and tune back in, I'll bring you up to speed. I'll let you know what happened, but take care of yourself. Go out and walk your dog, you know, spend time with your family, play a board game with your kids. Me and my kids sat down the other night and played the board game Aggravation. And I don't know if you've ever played it or not, but it is an aggravating game. It really is. And my 6-year-old son Oakley won his first game. It was his first time playing it. We've never been able to get him to sit long enough to play a board game. You don't have the patience for it. But he finally did. And yeah, me and his older brother might have kind of threw the fight for him. We might have WWE'd it and put him over. We let the 6-year-old win. And we all had joy out of that, you know. And I tuned out for a while to do that. I tuned out me and my son Emmett's been watching a show called School Spirits, where this girl has passed away and she's a ghost at her school trying to figure out how she died. I've watched that girl Peyton List in so many kids shows with my kids over the years. She's in Cobra Kai too. I think she was on Bunked. But you know, when I get done with my day, after I get done doing all this, I sit down and I try to unwind with my family and kids. And me and the kids do great. Now, me and my mom and dad have a little bit harder time with it because we'll always say, oh, we're not going to talk politics. And then 5 minutes later, we're in this big discussion about it. So we could never, I don't think we could ever fully escape it. But take care of yourselves and take care of your mental health. And thank you so much to everyone out there who contributed, everyone who became a member, everyone who gifted a membership, everyone who sent a super sticker. I truly appreciate all of you. And I'll be back Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern, same, well, not same time, but same channel, different time, 7 p.m. Eastern this Thursday. So let your friends know. It's like, I never do get to see him. I'm always at work, or I'm in a different time zone. Let them know I'll be here 7 p.m. Eastern, and we'll have a good time. And thank you so much for supporting what it is that I do. And for all you that says I help get you through it, just know that you guys help get me through it, and I truly appreciate you.